come and read to us?
Morning, church. A Bible reading for this morning, it's John chapter 14, the first 6 verses. I read from the New Living Translation. Jesus, the way to the Father. Don't let your hearts be troubled. Trust in God and trust also in me. There is more than enough room in my Father's home. If this were not so, would I have told you that I am going to prepare a place for you? When everything is ready, I will come and get you, so that you will always be with me where I am. And you know the way to where I am going. No, we don't know, Lord, Thomas said. We have no idea where you are going. So how can we know the way? And Jesus told him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one can come to the Father except through me.
It's my privilege to welcome Andy to come and share with us today. Please come forward, Andy.
Thank you,
We had a brilliant day yesterday. Andy is the director of SOLAS, but we also had a couple of other associates of SOLAS, with actually 3. We had Catherine, who's very much the administrator, and then we had David and Gavin. So we had a team from SOLAS yesterday. They've all had to go back to their respective homes, but Andy stayed overnight, and he's going to share with us this morning. So thank you so much for staying, Andy, and it's
Wonderful.
over to you.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you for that warm welcome, and great to be with you again at Elmwood Church this morning. We had a fantastic Confident Christianity Day yesterday. It's great to see a good number of people. I know for some it was a sacrifice because there was a small sporting event in the afternoon, but it was great to have a dedicated bunch here as we thought about how we can share our faith with our friends. And as you heard there in the introduction, my name is Andy Bannister. The organization I lead, SOLAS, is an organization committed really to taking the message of Jesus out of the 4 walls of the churches and into public places. And we help churches reach out into their communities. We do outreach events in schools and universities and all kinds of other bits as well. And we just love helping people understand what the difference is that Jesus makes in today's contemporary world. And that's what we're going to be thinking about this morning. We're going to dive in to that passage and some ideas around it. We're going to say a few things first, then come back to it, and then really think about how Jesus answers some of the biggest questions that people are wrestling with today. But to set the scene, let me tell you a story. A few years ago now, a gentleman called Larry Walters made international news. Larry was an American, he was a truck driver, and he was bored of his day job driving a truck, and he wanted to, as he put it, break free from the monotony of everyday life. So Larry had an idea. He bought from his local army surplus store about 30 weather balloons, and he tied the balloons to his favorite garden chair, having first tied the chair to the front of his truck. Then he equipped himself with a knife and a shotgun and a 6-pack of beer. And he was quoted in the paper as saying, my plan had been to cut the rope holding this whole contraption to the front of the truck. I would float maybe 50 feet into the air. He would wave at the neighbors, drink the beer, shoot the balloons, and fly back down to earth again. This was the plan. And so he cut the rope, holding his contraption to the front of his truck, and his plan worked. In fact, it worked somewhat better than he'd possibly imagined, because Larry floated not 100 feet in the air, not 1,000 feet in the air, not even 10,000 feet in the air. Larry Walters rose 14,500 feet into the sky. In terror, he drops the shotgun and the knife and the beer, and he's now left floating, helpless, in the skies above Los Angeles. Eventually, he drifts into the approach path for aeroplanes coming into land at LAX International Airport, and an astonished 747 captain radios the tower to say, "I've just passed a terrified-looking man in a garden chair at 14,000 feet." On arrival, they breathalyze the pilot because they think he's been drinking. Finally, after about an hour, the balloon's deflated and Larry sank back down to earth. On the way back down, he gets entangled in power cables, and he blacks out half of Long Beach for the afternoon. Back on the ground, surrounded by a media scrum, microphones thrust in his face. "Mr. Walters, why did you do it?" he has asked. These are, ladies and gentlemen, his immortal words. "Well, I was bored of life, and a man just can't sit around." What I find astonishing, many things I find astonishing in that story, but what I find astonishing is that quote, actually. Despite the lunacy of his plan, Larry was onto something. We all have this need in life to find something bigger. We all need something more than the everyday. We need to find some kind of purpose, some kind of meaning, some kind of direction. Even if in his case, the direction was 14,000 feet vertically. All of us, I think, wrestle at times with, what am I here for? Life just seems monotonous. If all I'm doing is going to school, coming home again, going to school, coming home again, going to work, coming home again, do that for 35 years, retire, and then die, that seems dreadfully, dreadfully boring. And there's this universal human need to find the meaning for our life, to find the purpose, to find something bigger, something that makes our life feel it needs a difference. I really first ran into that personally, that need, that kind of crisis, when back in my early 20s, everything was going well. I'd finished my studies. I'd got a great job that I loved doing with a health service. A mate and I had started a little business on the side, a little side hustle. It was making good money. I was also involved with a youth charity that was making quite a bit of difference in my part of London. And so by every conceivable measure, life was going well. But it wasn't. Because what I was realizing was that inside, I had this great emptiness. Inside, I was burning up in some ways. I was burning the candle at both ends and also in the middle, and spending every waking hour and beyond trying to justify myself, trying to find some meaning, trying to somehow prove that I was worth it. And it wasn't working. I was diagnosed with burnout. I was diagnosed with depression. And then I went and saw a counselor that my GP had recommended to me, who said something that really made me sit up and pay attention. She said, if your life is not meaningful without success, your life won't be meaningful with success. If your life is not meaningful without success, it won't be meaningful with it. And she put her finger on the meaning question. See, according to lots of studies, the UK right now is facing a meaning crisis. Many of us, many of our friends, our neighbors, our colleagues, we have the means to live, but no meaning to live for. And all kinds of things can kind of trigger that kind of crisis for us. Sometimes it can be a crisis that triggers those kind of questions, like the one that I went through. Sometimes it can be a bereavement, or a loss, or the loss of a job, or a health diagnosis can cause us to ask these big life questions. Other times it can be positive things that can make us ask big questions about life, experiencing beauty in nature, or a wonderful life event, marriage, or the birth of a child. All of those can trigger that question, what is life for? And in fact, the question, what is life for, is one of the oldest questions. Human beings have been asking it for thousands of years, and it's a question that the Bible addresses in a number of places. In a moment, we're going to come back to John 14 that was read to us so beautifully a moment ago. But before that, I actually want to start with the opening words of John's Gospel. John is one of those 4 historical accounts of Jesus in the New Testament, written within the first 50 years after his death and resurrection by his closest friends, by the eyewitnesses to these events. And John's Gospel, the 4th of those accounts, opens with an interesting introductory comment. It says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. The Word became flesh and made his dwelling amongst us, and we have seen his glory, the glory of the one and only Son, who came from the Father, full of grace and truth. Now, the interesting thing is the New Testament was originally written in Greek, and the word in our English Bibles, the word word, in the Greek text, the word is the Greek word logos. And in Greek, that meant a number of things. And one of the things that word meant in the Greek of the day was it meant the meaning of life. The meaning of life. That's the word you would use if you were talking about those things back in the first century. And as I said, questions about what is the point of life, what's the meaning of life, what is life for, well, people have been wrestling with that question for thousands of years. But into that discussion, the Bible said something really, really radical. The Bible here in John's Gospel says the meaning of life, the logos, the point of what it means to be human, it's not a self-help book. It's not a concept. It's not a philosophy. It's none of those things. In fact, the meaning of life, says the Bible, is not a what, but it's a who. The meaning of life is not a what, but it's a who, says the Bible, and that who is the person of Jesus. Now, here's the interesting thing. No matter what your beliefs about Jesus this morning, many of us in this room have a Christian faith. Maybe there are some of you here this morning who would say, well, that's not me right yet. I come to church because I've been coming to kind of explore the Christian faith and check it out and think about it. Maybe some of you are here this today because you've been brought by a friend who's persuaded you to come and see what this Christianity business is all about. But here's the thing. No matter what you personally believe about Jesus this morning, you cannot deny his incredible impact on history. In fact, somebody remarks that if you were to make two lists, and on one list we were to write the names of the most influential people in history, and on the other list we were to write the names of people who have claimed to be God, only one name would turn up on both lists, and that would be the name Jesus of Nazareth. Whatever you think about him, he has transformed and turned the world upside down. And when it comes to this question of how we can find meaning, how we can find purpose, how we can find something more to life, Jesus said some really incredible things. And one of the things he said that really stands out to me was that passage that was read to us earlier from John 14 chapters on from where I just read you the introduction. Let me just read you this paragraph once again, because I want us to slow down and really notice it. And then I want to pull three things out of here that Jesus said that I think help us or help our friends who are wrestling with this question, how can I find the purpose of my life, why I'm here, what it's all about, what the big story is. So Jesus said, do not let your hearts be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. My Father's house has many rooms. If that were not so, would I have told you that I'm going there to prepare a place for you? If I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to be with me, that you may also be where I am. You know the place to the way that I'm going. Thomas, one of Jesus' closest inner circle of followers, Thomas said to him, but Lord, we don't know where you are going, so how can we know the way? And then Jesus gives this incredible answer. He says, I am the way. I am the way. I am the truth, and I am the life. Nobody comes to the Father except through me. If you really know me, you will know the Father as well. So what was Jesus claiming with that incredible statement there at the end of that passage? Well, when it comes to the meaning of life, that question that we all wrestle with at some point in our lives, Jesus was claiming not to offer a plan or some advice or some techniques. We live in an age that loves technique, right? There's something wrong, here are 4 steps to fix it. Jesus comes offering none of those things, but he comes to offer himself. He says, I am the way, I am the truth, and I am the life. So let's unpack those 3 statements one by one. Jesus starts by saying, I am the way. Well, one question we might immediately ask is, what does it mean for Jesus to be the way, the only way, in a world of other possible ways? Right? We live in a very multicultural country here in the UK. Loads and loads of other belief systems all around us. Where I grew up in London, You could choose from Hinduism, Buddhism, Sikhism, Judaism, Jainism, Islamism, atheism. You could even support the local football team, Crystal Palace. We called that masochism. All those different isms kicking around there. So what does it mean for Jesus to say, there are all these other beliefs, but I am the only way? Well, here's just one thought for you this morning. Most people, when they think about religion, or they think about spirituality, or they think about faith, they tend to assume that it's all about us. It's by my thinking. If I think the right things, learn the right mystical truths, I can climb upwards towards heaven. Or they think it's about experience. If I have some mystical experience, if I meditate kind of hard enough or do whatever I have to do, if I can get this experience of something other than me, then I can get closer to God, the divine, heaven, or whatever it is. And then other people think, well, religion's all about deeds, it's all about commandments. Right? Here are some instructions, follow these instructions, keep the law, do the right thing, and you can climb upwards to heaven. In either case, whether you think religion is about knowledge or experience or doing stuff, notice where the focus is. It's all about you and the stuff that you're doing. And my biggest concern with that approach to religion and spirituality is it's basically performance-based acceptance. Or if you love an acronym this morning, who doesn't love an acronym? PBA is my acronym for you this morning. What is PBA? Performance-based acceptance. What is that? That's this pernicious, nasty idea that says you're only wanted, you're only valued, and you only matter, liked or loved, if you perform, if you measure up, if you do the right thing. Many of us as human beings, by the way, we catch PBA in childhood and carry it into our adult lives, where sometimes we could spend our adult lives worrying that we're not truly accepted by our friends, family, our peers, our colleagues, unless we work hard enough, unless we prove ourselves. And conversely, if we do the wrong thing, if we slip up in some way, then it's game over and they'll abandon us. Many human beings struggle with that inner doubt. And then many of us, if we're not careful, we can end up viewing God that way. We can end up projecting that idea onto God. We can picture God as a kind of cosmic Santa, sitting up there with his, checking the tiniest details of our lives, making his list, checking it twice, and rewarding our behavior if it's good, punishing us if we're bad. And we can spend our lives thinking, well, if God's there, where do I measure up? And as one of my friends once put it to me, she went, I'm actually afraid there's a God because of the mess I've made of my life. And it's tragic to have to try and say multiple times, do you know what? Maybe it's not about you. Maybe it's about him. But along comes Jesus and explodes that entire framework. Jesus says it's about none of those things. It's about none of those things, says Jesus. It's not about what you've done. It's not about what you can do, and it's not about what you could do. Jesus did not come to give us new information. He didn't come to give us new experiences. He didn't come to give us new lists of things to do. He definitely did not come offering a self-help program. But Jesus came claiming to reveal who God is. He came claiming to reveal the one who created us, the one who loves you, the one who wants to forgive you and welcome you into his family, and the one who can answer that cry for meaning in your life. Jesus does not say, try harder. Jesus is saying, come on home. Big difference between those two things. So number one, Jesus said, I'm the way. Secondly, Jesus went on, he said, I'm the way. Secondly, he said, I am the truth. And that's an odd thing to say when you think about it. You might have expected Jesus to come along and say, here is the truth. Or here are some truths, some useful information you might want to consider. But Jesus didn't say any of those things. Jesus said, I am the truth. And again, just a little bit of language for you. The Greek word used in John 14 here for truth is a much richer word than our Greek word truth. It literally means to reveal or to unhide, to take that which is in the darkness and bring it out into the light so everyone can look at it. So Jesus is saying, I'm the one who unhides, I'm the one who reveals, I'm the one who makes things clear. So the good follow-up question might be, okay, Jesus, what is it that you reveal or unhide or make clear? To which Jesus, I think, would say two things. Number one, he reveals who God is. The Bible says if you want to know what God is like, look at Jesus. And then secondly, Jesus also claims to reveal, I think, who we really are. And this is sometimes where some of us can get just that little bit uncomfortable. Because for many of us in this room, I suspect, if you're like me, there are things in your life, things in your past, things that you've done, aspects of who you are that you don't want revealed. We spend our lives trying to build this image of who we are to the world, and we don't necessarily want the reality of who we are brought out into the open, and it can make us uncomfortable. Let me illustrate what I mean with a thought experiment. Imagine that as you walked out of church this morning, sadly, you looked the wrong way as you crossed the road and you got run over by the number 13 bus, or whatever bus goes past the hospital out there. And I'm afraid it's fatal. Bad news for you this morning. But the good news is you wake up and you're in heaven. And there you are, the pearly gates, and you're met at the pearly gates by an angel with a clipboard. Actually, this is 2026. They've got an iPad. And the angel welcomes you, checks your name on the list. Oh, brilliant. Welcome to heaven. We've been looking forward to your coming. Me and the other angels, we have been working on a very special surprise for you. And then he takes you by the hand, and the angel leads you into what appears to be a multiplex cinema. And he brings you into screen number 1. You're the only person in the room. He sits you down in the front row, gives you a giant bucket of popcorn, and says, enjoy this. We got a treat for you. And then he vanishes in a puff of, I don't know, pixie dust, whatever angels vanish in. And on the screen appears the movie of your life. It's the movie of your life. Everything you've ever said and thought and done, the best bits, the bits that make you want to go, that's fantastic, that was a good bit. Bits that are so embarrassing that you would love to crawl under the seat in front of you, but he's put you on the front row, so crawling is not on the agenda. After 4.5 hours of this, I mean everything, every aspect of your life, the movie comes to an end, you pick yourself off the floor, the angel reappears and looks at you and says, well, I hope you enjoyed that. My word, we had some fun in the editing suite. One of the angels needed some counseling after that scene ran about 36 minutes in, but never mind. But I've got some more good news for you. Out in the lobby is everybody who starred in the movie. All of your friends and your family, all of your enemies, all of your colleagues, everyone you said lovely things about, everyone you thought naughty things about and bad things about, they're all out, and we're going to invite them in, and they're going to watch the movie for a second time with you. The nervous laughter tells me none of us in that room would want to live through that experience. Everyone knows that deep down inside us, inside the corners of our hearts, there are things we wish could just stay there, because that's what it means to be human, right? We do great stuff, we do bad stuff. But Jesus says, I need to bring that into the light. And he does that not to condemn us, but he does that because you can receive the cure. Before you can receive the cure, you have to receive the diagnosis. But the good news is Jesus didn't come to condemn us, he came to rescue us. Which brings us to his last claim. I'm the way, said Jesus, I'm the truth. In my last few minutes, I am the life, Jesus said. The claim of the Christian faith, the whole claim of Christianity, uniquely this, is that the purpose of Jesus' life was to transform our very lives. See, the Christian faith says the heart of the problem in our world is not the wrong kind of politics or the wrong kind of economics or the wrong kind of anything. The heart of the problem is the problem of the human heart. We are the problem, and there's nothing we can do to fix that. Human beings have been trying to sort ourselves out for thousands of years, and we haven't got very far. But the good news is that God can do something about it. Because elsewhere, Jesus said, for God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, so that whoever believes in him shall not die, but have eternal life. And in Jesus, God has reached out to us, offering each one of us in this room, and our family, and our friends, and our neighbors, the chance of life, real life. And through Jesus, God offers you forgiveness from your messed up choices, forgiveness from all of the sheer effort of performance-based acceptance, the weariness that can come from trying to prove yourself and build your own identity. God offers us, through Jesus, a place in his family and a cure for our restlessness. You see, I think the basic problem for many of us is we are living as if we were made for a what. And for some of us, that what can be different things. For some of us, we are living for success or satisfaction or sex or even for things that begin with a letter other than S. But what if you weren't made for a what at all? What if you were made for a who? What if you were made to know Jesus? And that's what I discovered back in my 20s. I discovered that I could either continue to burn myself out, trying to prove myself just by sheer effort, or I could discover in and through Jesus what it meant to be forgiven and welcomed into God's family and given an identity and a meaning and a purpose, not based on me and my efforts, but based on Jesus, based on the one who created me and knows me and knows what I'm for. And look, in conclusion, we started at the beginning talking about the search for meaning. I wonder if the search for meaning, for some of us in this room, if we're wrestling with this, for our friends, for our colleagues, for our world, the search for meaning is really the search for home. We're looking for the place that we belong. In which case, the good news, the really, really, really good news, is that is what God offers you in and through Jesus. And he offers it as a gift. So maybe it is time for some of us today to give Jesus a really careful look. So where do we go from here? Well, look, in conclusion, three responses you might consider this morning if you're here as a guest or someone who's been coming for a while and kind of thinking about things. Just three things to think about as ways you might go forward. Some of you this morning are sitting there thinking, this is really interesting, but I have a question. Maybe there's a yes, but in your mind. Or maybe you are a follower of Jesus and you've got friends who would say, this is all great, but, well, come and speak to me afterwards. Come and talk to Chris. Come and talk to one of the other leaders here. Whatever your question about the Christian faith, we would be happy to tackle that and help you think about it. For others, maybe your response this morning is, I want to know more. This is really interesting. You've whetted my appetite. I've been thinking about things for a while. I want to know more. Then in which case, have I got good news for you? Because there are ways to do that. There's this wonderful little book that the church is giving away called Why Jesus? That tells you a bit more about Jesus and his life and why he's relevant, the difference he makes. They have copies of those available. I think they're in the welcome pack as well if you're new here today. They also, the church tell me, if you have never read the stories of Jesus in the Bible and you would like one, they are giving Bibles away. How is that for a special offer this morning? Again, come talk to Chris. Come talk to one of the leaders. If you've never got your hands on the Bible and read it for yourself, or again, if you're a Christian here today and you have a friend who desperately would need to hear this, come talk to us and we can help you. And then there's a wonderful course that the church runs throughout the year called Christianity Explored, which is a place where you can come, meet with others, chat about these big questions, look at Jesus, and I would strongly encourage for some of you this morning, maybe that's the thing you want to think about. But then finally, maybe there are some of you here this morning who've been thinking about these things for a while. This is not the first time that you've heard some of what I've shared or what we've sung about this morning. Maybe you've been coming to church for a while and taking part in things, but still feeling a bit like an outsider because you haven't made that step of responding to that invitation Jesus makes. Then maybe today, for some of us, today is the day to stop running and finally stand before Jesus and pray. Maybe pray something like this. Dear God, thank you for loving me so much that you sent Jesus to die and rescue me. I'm sorry for messing things up so badly and trying to find meaning in all of the wrong places. Would you please forgive me and make me part of your family? Well, if you prayed or if you want to pray something like that and make it your own, come talk to me, talk to Chris, talk to one of the church leaders afterwards. We'd love to talk to you more about what it means to begin following Jesus. But look, wherever you are on your spiritual journey this morning, remember that Jesus meets you where you are, and he offers meaning, he offers forgiveness, he offers purpose, he offers joy unspeakable. And in a world that seems to get madder every day, he offers a true and living hope. Thank you for listening this morning. And Chris, it's back over to you.
If you want to respond in any one of those three ways, then please come and see me or Andy or Dan, the assistant pastor, or one of the leaders here. We would love to help you on your journey to find Christ as your own personal Lord and Saviour. But the worship band are going to come and lead us in a couple of songs before we finish. Thank you.